Why do some men rise above millions, while others, no matter how hard they try, remain invisible? Why do some voices echo through centuries, while others are silenced in a single breath? The answer is not luck. It is not kindness. It is something far darker, something hidden, and tonight you're about to hear it. Machiavelli was not just a writer. He was a man who looked into the heart of power and dared to write down what he saw. But here's the catch. What he revealed was never meant for ordinary people. His truths were designed for rulers, kings, and those who controlled armies. That is why even today, centuries later, his name is whispered with suspicion. Because if you understand what Machiavelli understood, you can't look at the world the same way again. People think history is shaped by ideals, by morals, by noble speeches carved into stone. But Machiavelli saw through the mask. He knew that behind every throne, behind every smiling leader, there was fear, strategy, and ruthless calculation. And he put it all in words that governments, religions, and scholars tried to soften or bury. Because if the masses knew what he really meant, they might question every promise ever made to them. Think about it. How many times have you been told that being good is the key to success? Be kind, be fair, be base. That is the story society feeds us from birth. But Machiavelli said something else. He said goodness is a costume, a tool used when it works, and discarded when it doesn't. To him, power did not belong to the most honest. It belonged to the most strategic. This is the hidden truth the world never wanted you to know. In this video, we're going to uncover that truth. Piece by piece, we'll strip away the illusions and show you what Machiavelli really believed about power, human nature, and control. You'll see why mercy is not always a virtue, why freedom is more fragile than you think, and why appearances often matter more than reality. These are not just old ideas locked in dusty books. They are lessons still used by leaders, corporations, and even people around you, sometimes without you realizing it. You see, the danger of Machiavelli's work is that it reveals too much. It shows you the game that powerful people play. And once you learn the rules, you can never unlearn them. That is why you need to stay until the very end. Because only then will you understand his darkest truth, the one that ties everything together. The one that explains not just how rulers control nations, but how people are controlled every single day without knowing it. And here's the twist. Machiavelli was not a monster. He was not telling us to destroy or to bray or to harm. He was telling us to see clearly, to stop living inside illusions that make us weak. He wanted us to understand the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. That is what makes his words dangerous. Because once you see reality, you can no longer be manipulated by fairy tales about morality and goodness. This is why this video matters. Because what you'll hear in the next few minutes is not just philosophy. It's a mirror that shows you who truly has power, who pretends to have it, and how easily the game can turn against those who do not understand it. And the question is, when you look into that mirror, will you like what you see, or will you realize that you've been living as a pawn in someone else's strategy all along? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will have something that most people will never have. The ability to see the strings that pull society, the lies that keep people obedient, and the truths that kings and rulers have guarded for centuries. Machiavelli's darkest truth is not just history. It is happening right now, around you, in every decision made above your head. Welcome to Psychalgorithm. If you're ready to learn the truths you were never supposed to know, hit subscribe and join us on this journey into the shadows of power. The lesson begins now. Before we talk about the darkest truths of power, we need to face one of the biggest illusions in human life, the mask of goodness. From the time you are a child, you are told that being good is the highest path. Share your toys, speak kindly, tell the truth, follow the rules. And as you grow older, The same message repeats in 1,000 different ways. Be honest in business. Be kind in relationships. Be generous in society. People say this is the recipe for success, for respect, for a life of meaning. But Machiavelli saw something different. He saw that the world does not reward pure goodness. In fact, he believed it punishes it. To him, goodness was not the road to power, but the bait on a hook. Those who cling too tightly to moral purity become predictable, and predictability is dangerous. Imagine a ruler who refuses to lie, who refuses to act with force, who refuses to bend the truth when necessary. That ruler will be loved for a moment, but soon he will be betrayed, defeated and replaced by someone who was willing to do what he was not. This is why Machiavelli said that goodness is a mask, a costume leaders wear when it benefits them, and remove when it threatens their survival. Think about the leaders you admire. History paints them as heroes, saints, or visionaries. But behind the polished statues and golden portraits, their rise was not built only on honesty and fairness. It was built on strategy, on control, and sometimes on ruthless acts that people prefer to forget. Machiavelli understood that people wanted to believe in goodness, so leaders gave them the performance. They gave speeches about justice, about fairness, about morality. But behind the curtain, they made decisions that served power, not purity. This was his warning. If you live only by goodness, you will be used by those who understand its mask. A kind man in business will often find himself taken advantage of by sharper rivals. A merciful ruler may forgive an enemy, only to be destroyed later by the same person. A generous friend may give endlessly, only to be abandoned when he needs help the most. Goodness, when not balanced with strategy, becomes a weakness. And in the game of power, weakness invites predators. But here lies the real shock. Machiavelli did not tell rulers to abandon goodness completely. He told them to master the mask. A leader must know how to appear good, even when he is not. He must know how to speak the words of virtue, while practicing the moves of strategy. To the people, he must look honest, kind, and merciful. But in secret, he must be calculating, cold, and ready to act in ways that goodness alone would forbid. Because appearances protect power, the mask of goodness calms the masses, earns trust, and creates loyalty. But the truth behind the mask is where survival is decided. Take, for example, the idea of mercy. Society says mercy is noble. Forgive your enemies, and you will be respected. But Machiavelli argued the opposite. Too much mercy makes you weak. People take advantage of your forgiveness. They learn that your threats are empty. And soon, respect turns to contempt. A ruler who never punishes will not hold power for long. So the wise leader appears merciful, but only when it is safe. When it threatens control, mercy must be replaced with force. This is the balance of the mask. Always looking good, but never letting goodness destroy you. And it's not just rulers. This truth applies to everyone. In society, the mask of goodness is used everywhere. Politicians wear it. When they promise change they never intend to deliver. Corporations wear it when they advertise fairness and equality while chasing profit at any cost. Ordinary people wear it in daily life, showing kindness when it benefits them, hiding envy or ambition behind polite smiles. The mask is everywhere, because without it, people would see the raw hunger for power that drives the world. Machiavelli forced us to see this. He told us that to survive, we must understand that bide are not always what they appear to be. Goodness may be on their face, but behind their eyes lies calculation, and the danger is greatest for those who cannot see it. Those who believe too deeply in goodness will always be manipulated by those who understand its mask. This is the uncomfortable the path society tells you to follow. Always be good. Always be honest. Always be kind. Sounds noble, but Machiavelli would ask, who benefits when you live like that? The answer is simple. It is not you, it is the one who knows how to use your goodness against you. Human beings like to believe that they are noble, that they act from kindness, and that they value honesty above all. But Machiavelli tore this illusion apart. He believed that at the core of human nature, people are selfish, fearful, and easily manipulated. Strip away the polite manners, the speeches about values, the smiling faces, and you will find the same thing everywhere. Desire for gain and terror of loss. People want security more than freedom. They want comfort more than truth. They say they want justice, fairness, and virtue, but when fear enters the room, those words collapse. Power, then, is not built on what people say they desire. It is built on what they fear losing. This is why Machiavelli studied human weakness so carefully. He noticed that people rarely keep promises when it does not benefit them. They claim loyalty, but when the tide turns, they abandon their leaders. They cry for freedom, but submit eagerly to the one who offers them protection. He understood that fear is the foundation of obedience. And so those who know how to control fear, control people. To Machiavelli, this was not cruelty. It was clarity. This is what led him to the question that has echoed for centuries. Is it better to be loved or feared? At first, the answer seems simple. Love feels stronger, more lasting, more human. But Machiavelli saw through the sentiment. Love is fragile. It depends on constant satisfaction. People love you when you give them what they want. But the moment you fail, their love disappears. Fear, on the other hand, is durable. Fear does not need to be renewed with gifts or kindness. Fear anchors itself in the heart. It keeps people cautious, obedient, and controlled. Machiavelli did not dismiss love entirely. He said that if possible, a ruler should have both love and fear. But if he must choose, fear is safer. Why? Because fear is within the control of the ruler, while love belongs to the emotions of others. Love can be betrayed in an instant, but fear is a weapon that a wise leader can sharpen whenever needed. This is why he declared, "It is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both." Even today, this truth lingers in politics, in business, and even in personal life. Those who rely only on love may win admiration, but those who command fear hold authority. And here lies the illusion of morality. Society teaches us that leaders must be good, that rulers should be guided by virtue, and that power must serve the moral law. But Machiavelli laughed at such illusions. He argued that morality is not a rule for leaders. It is a tool. It is something to be used when it strengthens power, and abandoned when it weakens it. A prince does not need to be truly virtuous. He only needs to appear virtuous. He does not need to be honest, merciful, or faithful. He only needs to seem like he is, because the people blinded by appearances will judge him on the surface and never see the calculations underneath. Goodness, in Machiavelli's eyes, was not reality. It was theater. And the rulers who understood this truth could bend entire nations to their will. They wore morality like a mask, smiling as they plotted, promising as they deceived, preaching as they prepared to strike. The masses believed because they wanted to believe. They wanted to imagine that power was noble, and in that leave they surrendered themselves. This is why Machiavelli warned against sympathy and mercy. To him, mercy was not strength but weakness. If a ruler forgave too often, his subjects would see him as soft. If he hesitated to punish, rebellion would grow. Sympathy might win applause for a moment, but in the long game, it would corrode respect. Strength, he believed, comes not from soft hearts, but from discipline, from the ability to make cold decisions even when they seem cruel. The ruler who acts with firmness, even harshness, creates stability, and stability, Machiavelli insisted, is the highest duty of power. Consider his example. A ruler who tries to be endlessly merciful, refusing to punish traitors, refusing to act against enemies, hoping that kindness will heal all divisions. What happens? Chaos. Disorder spreads. Enemies grow bolder, And in the end, the people suffer more than they would have under a strong and disciplined hand. Machiavelli argued that cruelty, when used wisely, could be more humane than endless mercy, because order, even built on fear, protects more lives than chaos born from softness. And how does a ruler maintain such order? Through deception. For Machiavelli, lies were not sins. They were instruments. Appearances were not shadows. They were shields. Manipulation was not shameful. It was survival. A prince could never reveal his true intentions, because transparency makes him vulnerable. Instead, he must speak with honeyed words, show gestures of generosity, act as if his heart is noble, while behind the mask he calculates his every move. Deception in his philosophy was not just useful, it was necessary. People, he argued, are blind. They do not see the truth. They see only the surface. They want symbols, images, performances. Give them the show of morality, and they will never ask for the reality behind it. A ruler who is honest, his ruthlessness, will be hated, but a ruler who cloaks his ruthlessness in the language of virtue will be praised. This is the paradox Machiavelli revealed. People demand morality, but they reward deception. And yet, deception is not only for rulers. It is part of every level of power. In business, leaders exaggerate their values while chasing profit. In politics, candidates promise justice while plotting strategy. Even in daily life, people wear masks, smiling when they feel envy, offering help when they seek advantage, pretending loyalty when they wait for a chance to leave. The world runs on appearances. Those who see only the surface live in illusion. Those who learn to look beneath it understand the truth of power. Machiavelli's vision of human nature was not optimistic, but it was sharp. He saw that people are driven less by ideals and more by instinct. They fear loss. They crave safety. They follow appearances, and they submit to control. To ignore this is to be blind. To see it is to gain the first weapon of power. And once you see, you cannot go back to believing in the fairy tale of pure goodness, pure love, and pure morality. You see the world as Machiavelli saw it, raw, dangerous, and ruled not by kindness, but by fear, deception, and strength. Power looks solid from the outside. It looks like a throne carved from stone, like a crown passed down through centuries, like a law written in ink that will never fade. But Machiavelli warned that this ease is a lie. Power is never permanent. It is fragile, unstable, always at risk of crumbling. The moment a leader thinks it will last forever, it begins to slip away. Machiavelli studied rulers who believed their power was secure, emperors who commanded armies, kings who ruled vast lands, princes who thought their people were loyal. Almost every one of them, he noted, fell in the same way. They grew complacent. They trusted too much in loyalty. They stopped defending their power with vigilance. And soon betrayal, rebellion, or invasion tore them down. He argued that power is not a possession. It is a constant act of defense. A ruler cannot relax. He cannot believe that respect or love will hold his position. He must guard against enemies inside and outside, because enemies never sleep. Even allies cannot be trusted, because allies may turn when ambition tempts them. Power is fragile because it depends on control, and control can vanish in a single night. One rumor, one plot, one shift of loyalty, and everything collapses. This is why Machiavelli urged leaders to act as if their position was always under attack. Even when peace seems stable, the wise ruler prepares for war. Even when people seem loyal, the wise ruler watches for cracks in their devotion. Even when allies swear eternal friendship, the wise ruler keeps his distance. Knowing friendship can sour, power must be defended every day, not through words but through vigilance, strategy, and force when necessary. And here is where strategy rises above all. Machiavelli knew that power cannot be guarded by emotion. Emotion blinds. Emotion makes leaders reckless, soft, or hesitant. He warned that rulers who act out of anger, pity, or pride become predictable, and predictability is death. If enemies can predict your actions, they can defeat you. If rivals know your emotions, they can manipulate you. A ruler who reacts instead of calculating gives away his power without realizing it. To Machiavelli, strategy meant cold decisions. A ruler must calculate risks, like a chess player. He must see not just the next move but the move after, and the one after that. He must be willing to sacrifice appearances in order to keep control, even if it looks cruel in the moment. He must not let love, hate, or pity dictate his hand, because those emotions belong to ordinary people. A leader's duty is not to feel, but to act. Consider a leader who rules through love. He believes his people adore him. He trusts in their affection. But affection is not strategy. When hardship strikes, when food runs short, when enemies attack, that love evives. If he ruled through fear, they might obey even in hardship. If he ruled through strategy, he might already have secured supplies, allies, and defenses. But because he trusted emotion, his power crumbles. Machiavelli saw this pattern again and again. Those who trusted their feelings lost. Those who trusted strategy endured. The heart of strategy, he said, is to make decisions that secure survival, even when they appear harsh. If rebellion threatens, crush it quickly. If an ally grows too powerful, weaken him before he can betray you. If people doubt your strength, show it in a way that silences them. Strategy does not ask if the act is merciful. It asks if the act protects power. This is the difference between rulers who are remembered and rulers who are erased. But perhaps Machiavelli's darkest idea was not about power itself, but about freedom. To him, freedom was not the natural state of man. People dream about it, write about it, fight wars in its name. But deep inside, most people do not truly want freedom. They want control, security, and comfort. Freedom is dangerous. Freedom is uncertain. It demands responsibility, courage, and risk. And most people, he argued, would rather live under the command of a strong ruler than face the burden of true freedom. This is why societies again and again give away their liberty. They accept kings, dictators, and governments that watch over them. They trade independence for safety, even when that safety is an illusion. They prefer the comfort of order to the chaos of self-rule. Machiavelli saw that rulers understand this weakness. They know that to control people, you do not need to chain them. You only need promise protection. You only need to make them fear disorder, and they will cling to your authority. The truth about freedom is unsettling. People chant for it, but they choose security every time it is tested. They speak of independence, but they obey laws and rulers. As soon as fear enters their lives, they may complain about control, but they would rather live under it than face the risks of standing alone. Machiavelli called this the nature of mankind: to be weak, to be fearful, to be more obedient than rebellious. And in this truth, rulers find their greatest advantage. But this advantage is not permanent either. Because just as fear can bind people, it can also drive them to rebellion if it grows too strong. Too much fuel suffocates. Too much oppression sparks desperate resistance. A wise ruler balances the illusion of freedom with the reality of control. He allows people small liberties to distract them, while keeping true power in his own hands. He lets them feel free enough to remain calm, while ensuring they never truly are. This is where Machiavelli's final warning becomes clear. His ideas are dangerous, not because they are cruel, but because they expose how the world is truly governed. They reveal that morality is an illusion, that freedom is fragile, that power rests not on love but on fear, not on emotion but on strategy. And most of all, they reveal that society is controlled in ways the majority will never notice. For those who understand these truths, the world opens like a book. You see how leaders manipulate appearances. You see how fear shapes decisions. You see why promises are broken, why morals are abandoned, why freedom is offered with one hand and taken away with the other. But for those who refuse to see, the game goes on. They remain pawns moved by forces they do not understand, clinging to illusions while others hold the power. Machiavelli's final warning was simple. Once you see how the world works, you must decide what to do with that knowledge. Ignore it, and you live as everyone else does, believing in appearances, trusting promises, obeying fear. Accept it, and you step into the dangerous realm of power, where strategy rules and illusions are tools. One path is comfort, without control. The other is control without comfort. And in that choice lies the destiny of rulers, and the fate of the ruled. Power is fragile. Strategy is survival. Freedom is not what it seems, and only those who see clearly can rise above the illusions that bind the rest of the world. Power is not what it looks like on the surface. It is not the crown that shines on the king's head, nor the applause that follows the politician's speech, nor the promises of leaders who swear to serve the people. All of that is theater. All of that is illusion. Real power, Machiavelli revealed, belongs to those who see through the illusions and refuse to be blinded by them. It belongs to those who understand that goodness can be a mask, that love is fragile, that freedom is often surrendered, and that deception is the silent language of ruler. Throughout this journey, we have uncovered truths that most people are not supposed to know. We have seen how fear outweighs love, how strategy defeats emotion, how appearances matter more than reality. These are not just ideas written in books centuries ago. They are the same principles that shape nations, governments, and societies today. Look around and you will see them at work. The promises of morality, the offers of safety, the performances of goodness, all of them tools to keep people calm, while power remains concentrated in the hands of the few who know how to wield it. And so we return to Machiavelli's final lesson. Illusions are the chains that bind the masses. Most people do not want to break those chains, because illusions are comfortable. They let you believe that leaders are noble, that society is fair, that freedom is real, and that kindness rules the world. But if you dare to look deeper, if you dare to question, you begin to see the cracks. You begin to see that what appears solid is fragile. You begin to see that the world is not ruled by virtue, but strategy, deception, and fear. That knowledge is dangerous, because once you see the truth, you can never go back. You can never return to the simple comfort of believing in story. You will see the manipulation in every speech, the strategy behind every move, the performance behind every smile. And that is where the haunting question begins. Now that you know, what will you do with it? Will you live by comfort, or will you choose the safety of illusions, or the sharp clarity of reality? Will you let yourself be guided by the promises of others, or will you begin to guide yourself by understanding the principles that Machiavelli revealed? This is not just a question about politics or ruler. It is a question about life itself, because power is not only on thrones, it is in businesses, in relationships, in everyday choices. The one who sees the game clearly holds the advantage. The one who refuses to see becomes a pawn, forever moved by others. Machiavelli's truths are not meant to comfort you. They are meant to challenge you. They force you to face human nature without illusions. They demand that you accept that fear is stronger than love, that mercy without strength destroys, that morality is often a mask, and that freedom is fragile. These truths will not make you popular, but they will make you powerful, because knowledge of the game is the first step to mastering it. So as we close, ask yourself, will you look away and continue to live in the comfort of illusion? Or will you face reality and begin to understand the world as it truly is? Remember, those who understand these truths are never controlled as easily as those who ignore them. And that difference, the difference between blindness and clarity, is the difference between living as a pawn and living with power. If this message has opened your eyes, if you have found something here that made you think differently about power, about society, about yourself, then do not let it end here. Like this video to let us know you value these lessons. Share it with those who are ready to see beyond illusion. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel, Psychalgorithm, where we continue to explore Machiavelli's hidden truths, strategies, his power, and the secrets that most were never supposed to know. Because the game of power has never ended. It is still being played, every day, all around you. And the question is not whether the game exists. The question is whether you will play it blind or play it with open eyes. The choice, as Machiavelli would remind you, is yours. Will you live by comfort or by control?